today. Thanks for joining us. This is a reboot of our game dev show, which before I was trying to do Photoshop and all these other wacky things and whatnot. Right now, of course, you're seeing my crazy desktop, and hopefully we're going to hear it. Yay!
Yay.
All right, cool. Hey, we got 3 people. Unreal Engine 5 is pretty good about walking you through C++ and JavaScript. Oh, cool. Right on. Okay, well, step 1 in gaming. What we're going to do is start off. We're not going to start in with the code per se. What we're going to start off with is actually just the basic tools, because I'm going to put these on YouTube and they're going to have some sort of an order that builds on each other. And today, the first part of any tool set is just learning what the tools do and learning how to use the tools. If you've never been in a car, learning to drive a car, first you have to familiarize yourself with what the hell all these things do, right? Like, you don't know what a steering wheel, you don't know what that is. Like, how would you know? So I've got a couple of things up. I've got Blender up, which we won't get into today. We'll have a whole thing on creating assets that'll involve Blender, that'll involve Photoshop, and whatever else. But right now we're just going to stick with Unity. And so anyway, I taught game design a long time ago, but it was more from my experience of just designing levels for many, many years. As a kid, I designed Lode Runner levels on an Apple II Plus. So that tells you how old I am. But Ryan here is the real deal. So if you have questions about actual game development, game design, and running a game company, Ryan is your guy. But he's here to help teach me and help teach you guys how to use some of these tools. And we'll move quickly through this stuff today, and then we're going to get into the real meat and potatoes over the next few weeks.
So I'm coaching you on how to use Unity.
All right. Let's get it.
So let's just start overall. Unity, basically every single other application in the world, has the toolbar at the very top that has your overall.
Oh yeah, these guys right here.
Yeah. So, well, actually, at the very, very top, we have that. So
yeah, all your menu stuff.
All your menu stuff. And what you'll see if you go to Windows, you'll see here we have Game, Inspector, Hierarchy, and if you look at if you back out of that, you'll see we have here Inspector.
Oh,
Game.
okay, yeah.
So you can actually customize this whatever way you want, however helps your workflow. So let's go through these.
Yeah, this is just like in Photoshop or whatever. You got these little draggable tabs,
Absolutely.
And then you can dock them. And okay, so and for those of you, because I don't have a thing yet to be able to zoom into my screen, I need to get that installed. Over here on the right, you've got your inspector.
Yep.
Over here on the left, you've got your hierarchy. In the middle, you've got your scene, and then you've got another tab for game. Oh, that's cool. And then down here, you've got your project and this thing called console. Which this is a lot like a lot of the IDEs that I've used, where you have your code window and you have a hierarchy of your code, and then you have assets like Dreamweaver, sort of like this. Photoshop's kind of like this. Yeah. All right. So if you're familiar with that, this is easy peasy. Go ahead.
If not, the most important thing we're going to start off is your project tab. Whenever you're designing any game, whether it's a little one-click jumping game, you just tap the screen, to an elaborate, massive MMO, having an organized project is vital, because if it's not organized well, you won't know what you're looking for, and you'll get all confused. I know this from experience, because when I got started, I was a moron. So, you would think that you would know that. You think, oh, this is pretty organized, make it detailed. So, we have an assets folder, which basically Unity has everything under the assets folder. So, by default. When you, how deep do I go? So under the assets folder is where you can organize your models, your scripts, everything you need to do, you would put in here. So we have standard assets. Let's expand. Yeah. Click the little arrow next to that and expand that down.
Oh, wow.
So you can see here we have a kind of outline view or file view, and then we have the actual detailed folders kind of in a larger view. It's the same view both here on, right here and under the project side. So as we see here, we have a car in the game, right? So we have vehicles. So they've organized this as vehicles. So they might have more than one car. Maybe they have tanks or trucks. And so you could put aircraft. Now let's do something really simple. If you right-click that vehicles folder, right there, you can go up to create. And then you can create a new folder, you can create a script. So Unity gives you multiple ways to access this. So if you see that there, let's go to folder. So right now we're going to create a new folder, and we're going to call this folder trucks. And so this just kind of gives you an idea of how you would organize a project. And then you can literally drag things into Unity from your, well, we're currently on Windows, but if you're in Mac as well, but drag it from your File Explorer straight into that, and then Unity imports it for you.
And I think one of the big things to look at here is the fact that, well, you've got under car, just to give you an idea of kind of how you really need to plan things out.
Yeah.
You've got the audio for that car. You've got the materials for that car, the actual models for the car, and then things called prefabs, which I'm sure we'll get into, scripts, which tell it what to do, shaders and textures, all of which contribute to the look of the thing, along with the model, obviously, and the materials and whatnot. And then is that physics materials underneath that? Yeah. It was in cars, maybe? Hold on. It's hard to tell sometimes. It's in the vehicles. Right. Well, and that makes sense because you've got similar physics in all the different vehicles and whatnot. That's another thing that's kind of an important concept is reuse, where you can reuse code, where you can reuse models and textures and other things like that will help you, especially when you're creating mobile games. So that's just a little tip.
Even the big devs use it too. I mean, you look at like, for example, let's look at Call of Duty, right? The AI scripting and the AI modeling for most of those soldiers is all the same. They might change the skin. Let's get into that for a second too. So while we're here, let's talk about materials versus models.
Sure.
That's an important part. So if we, so these right here are our materials. So if we click on the car in this scene up ahead, click under hierarchy for them.
Okay. And here's the car. Yeah. Hey.
Now see how he's now. We can't really zoom in here, but. Now we see that he's selected here. Now over under the inspector tab on the right hand side, this is what you're seeing. This gives you the details of the item you're seeing in your scene. Okay?
Gotcha.
So if you click on the ground that in that scene or on a different item in the scene, it's going to change what your inspector's seeing.
Okay. So well, here's our helpers. Here's our lights. Let's see. Let's look at different cameras. There's a car camera rig.
Mm-hmm. So, and we won't get into that much detail today, but it's going to get you an idea of what we're looking at. So the inspector tab is the details of what you're seeing in your world there.
Okay.
Now let's go back to the car there. Zoom us in. And you can zoom with the wheel mouse. There's a couple hotkeys as well.
Oh, there's the camera that we had selected. So what's a hotkey for zooming in?
Depends what you want to have it as. You can try Control F. Control Alt F.
Whoops.
Oh, I just
added some geometry. Oh, I think I copied and pasted a platform actually.
Okay, so
anyway,
I have Control Alt D zooms me into that. So when you're looking here at this, let's click back on the car.
Okay. Now how do I select something? Right click it.
My left click works. I don't know what's going on at your end.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, that's important. Very, very front top. At the very, very top toolbar where the play button is, that same right through there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what we have here is different ways to manipulate items in the scene. So if you just hover over it for a second, usually it will tell you what an item is.
Not on my machine.
Not on your machine. Okay, so
fancy.
Right there, the little cross-looking symbol, that's your up, down, left, right, moving on your X, Y, Z axis. So if we go back to the scene, we'll see a red, green, and blue element there. So I want you to hold the control button down for me. Actually, just do this. Pull the green and slide the car up off the ground. Oh, no, look.
Oh, my God.
So we have selected, if you look on our hierarchy scene, what we've done here is we have the car body selected, not the whole car.
Right.
We've messed up. What do we do?
Undo.
Control Z.
Uh-oh. Why is it not undoing?
Why did none of your keys work?
Undo move. Holy cow. Wow. Okay.
Okay, so we're going to...
Oh, there we go. We're just going to put it back on there.
Just perfect.
Yeah.
There we go. It looks
never happened.
Kind of similar.
That's actually probably zeroed out. There we go. There we go.
Okay. Actually, it's negative 0.0. Impressive. So now that's a good lesson. So let's go back to our hierarchy, and we want to click on the car. So click on
the car itself.
There we go.
Right on.
Now back to the little green, red, and yellow axis. Grab the green one and drag it up a little bit. Okay, now the car is off the ground. That's probably a problem for a game, right? So how's a quick way to fix this? If we hold our control button down and we can slide it, it should lock to the nearest terrain.
Ah, that looks like mine is. Maybe my damn machine just doesn't work. Good grief. Oh, okay. But there it's snapping. Okay. I think
so it
that's
snaps,
it.
correct.
There we go. Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
it's just snapping to it was already down there.
All right, so
There we go. Neat. So control does that.
yep. So that's a great way if you're having to place assets on a terrain type item, or in a scene, you can snap them back and forth. So we've kind of just covered basics here real quickly. We've looked at the project hierarchy, and we've looked at our materials. Then we come up here to the game scene and figure out how to select an item. So when we select an item, we go to the right-hand screen, look at the inspector. So here we are, we're looking at this. We see a couple of things here. We see transform, we see rigid body, we see car control, which as we see here is a script. We probably have a couple of scripts to this.
Yeah.
Now, guys, scripts are the back end, behind the scenes that actually makes everything work.
And that was that programming these guys were talking about. By the way, to Infinity and Beyond, hi. Thanks for joining. We got 5 people
up?
watching right now. It's
Hey, guys.
awesome. But this stuff in here that says like steer helper, traction control, is all of that being exposed because of a script, or is this stuff that's built in?
Okay, great question. So in this situation here, this is the script. The car control. Actually, I missed this project. Let me go up here under these little.
Oh, it's a C sharp. Looks like C sharp right
script.
there.
So
okay.
it's built into that via the C sharp. But
Okay.
then, so we're having two things. This is a script here, but it's also calling on a script here, which basically
okay.
is a scripted name usually.
Yeah.
So if you look here for car audio, if we click on that right there, let's go pull up in the project.
Oh, wow.
Now let's double click that. That's going to open for Unity what's called Mono Develop. You can also set Visual Basics. We like to use things. You can use different things to code that in, but this is what comes with it. And this kind of is just a sample script here. So using the system, using the Unity engine. So these are, I'm not getting the details of this right now, but this is basically coding. This is calls, as we call.
Some of this makes sense. I mean, you've got like low acceleration clip, low deceleration clip, high acceleration pitches, and roll off pitch multipliers, engine sounds. You know, if you just look at that and knew nothing about scripting, you would be able to figure out what some of these things kind of are.
Absolutely. So now let's go back up to the top here too. This is really important. You see all this gray stuff? It's kind of got the lines to it. These are what's for notes. This is really important for programmers. This is really important if you have a multi-team that's working on different items. So if you have multiple programmers. So let's say I don't know what low decimal clip is.
Right.
It's an audio clip for low deceleration. Oh, okay. So now if Victor is programming this, he's told me what this is. So I know where I need to be using this. So these are just really, that's what these are. These are notes. These are really helpful when doing scripting. So I really just want to show you how to access your scripting from within Unity. So let's go back to Unity.
And to Infinity and Beyond mentions the point that Mono Develop basically sucks, don't use it. And that's probably true, I'm sure, for a lot of people. You're asking if I'm new to Programming Complete or just Unity. I actually used Unity a long time ago when it first was just on the Mac. It's changed considerably since then. And I think the last time I used it, the sample scene they gave you was that island that you could run around, which is super cool. It was like the coolest thing ever, especially to play that in a web browser. And I used to teach a little bit of programming, but I was more of like very simple program. I taught Visual Basic 6, and so I remember the .NET changeover, and object-oriented programming is difficult for my brain to kind of wrap around, even though I understand the concepts. Setting everything up and getting all the stuff passed right and all that, for whatever reason, it takes a little bit for me to think about, but none of this is foreign to me. So we're kind of starting.
That's how I am too. I'm really not a programmer. I can program. I know enough that I can talk to my programmers and they can, we know what's going on. But that's not my strong suit either. Also, my job is overall project management really. So and business management. So I'm not having to do that anymore.
Yeah.
But you can. I agree. Mono Develop it's what comes with the software. So you can definitely work in it. I think most of my programmers like to work in Visual Basic.
Yeah, Visual Studio.
Visual Studio, thank you.
And Visual Studio is fucking awesome. Like, I mean, seriously, Microsoft, they know how to make developer tools almost better than anybody on the planet ever, and except for the ancient aliens. But it's really amazing. And I was looking at their conference when they were showing like the new IntelliSense and whatnot, and it's unbelievable. I mean, that really is incredible. So, all that to say, yeah, use Visual Studio. It's freaking great.
But this comes with it. It's free.
Yeah, so there you go. If you're just getting started. So far, nothing that we're using today, in fact, nothing I've got launched costs any money to download and use and deploy stuff even. So
Yeah, guys,
Blender.
this is for introduction. This is for
Yeah.
people that are like, I want to know how this stuff works.
Yeah.
If you do, I'm assuming you guys program on your own. There's some, obviously, just
Yeah.
based on what you're saying. But I just want to show you how you access the scripts. And let's go back to that inspector.
Oh, I can make those bigger.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, you sure can.
All right. So the inspector. Oh, look at that. Imported object.
So it also
okay,
shows
cool.
it there too. Now,
Right. Oops.
yeah, there's whole color coding. We're not gonna do that.
All kinds of stuff.
Let's go back to our car.
Okay.
Now, so in order to access, I'm just going to totally show you how simple this is to use. We're gonna break the game right now.
Right on.
Okay, audio script. Go back down to the audio script. Okay. So just click it one time up there in the script where it says up. Oh,
Oh,
you shrunk it down.
there we go. Oh, I just
Expand.
shrunk it down again. And then script.
Yeah. Okay. So now just click that script itself physically. The car use. Okay. Now
Okay.
see how it highlights that?
Yeah.
I don't want that stupid script. It's the wrong script. I want to use Mudguard. So click on Mudguard right there.
Okay.
And just drag it up to that spot.
Oh, look at that.
What have I done? Control, undo. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I messed up. Or we could mess up more.
Holy cow. What in the world happened here? Okay, there we go.
I did undo it. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
My computer's gone whack.
I have no idea what's going on. I'm so confused. Anyway, so that's one way you can do it. You can also click this little dot right here, little button, and that's going to pull up over. Yeah, there your mono
cool.
scripts, and you can just search for it. So let's say you're
Okay.
looking for. I'm looking for explosive. So type in XP, EXPL, and there.
Ah, there we go.
And
Explosive.
you can just double click it there. And see, there it is. It's now
Gotcha.
there.
Okay. Oh, right. Right on.
But we don't want that. We want the car user control script. So just drag it back in there.
All right. And drag it over to here.
Yeah, right into that little, yep.
Boom. Aha.
Okay.
Sweet.
So that's really simple to do. So this is, again, basic user interface.
Yeah. But knowing that you can drag from here over into the wells, obviously accept those things, because like you wouldn't put a script where you would have a value or something like that. By the way, this is also why I'm not a good programmer. Max handbrake torque, there's a formula here, and I suck when it comes to formulas. I was just bad at math, and so my brain doesn't think like that. I'm lucky in that my son is gifted in math, and what I've learned that really means is just that you're able to visualize the math in a way. I'm a visual person, so coming at it from the math, like if I were to have been taught math with more colors and shapes and crap, maybe I didn't watch enough Sesame Street. That's not true. I watched it all the time, but I don't know. There's a block for me. So let's see. We got some other comments here. Have you used Simple? How do you use Simple J? I don't know.
Simple Java.
Simple Java. Yeah, no, I haven't used that. Hey, you're new here. If you're talking about using Visual Studio Mono, I'll tell you the future releases of Unity will possibly ship with Visual Studio 2015 free version.
That is. Is that is that definitive yet?
Yeah, I don't know. That would be great.
That's been a rumor that they've been trying to work on. Unity does a great, they do such a great job of making their product better.
Oh no, we're not father and son. He's a dad of how old's your kid now? Like 3 months.
So wait, who do you think the dad is? That's the better question. Who's the old one?
Infinity Beyond. Well, I got more gray hair and
They
whatnot.
can't see the beards. Why?
Yeah, there you go. Well, and I shave my beard. If I had to be gray though. We thank you guys for watching and joining in and chiming in. Actually, this is good stuff. Yeah, Microsoft talked about, like, I actually used some weird version of Visual Studio on the Mac, but it was really just for like web development.
Yeah.
And that's cool, but they're obviously really interested in making cross-platform tools. I mean, Microsoft's wised up and realized that in every college campus, kids have a crap ton of Macs. So they're like, okay, well, let's give them the tools that they're going to, why not?
It's like drug dealers giving their product away. Like, basically, here, see how awesome our product is. Well, maybe I'll try some of your other stuff then.
Well, and I'm on Windows 10 right now. I didn't pay for it. That's the first Microsoft update, OS update that I've ever not had to pay for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really interesting when you think about what they're looking at, realizing we can use our tool sets to bring people into our platforms. And
exactly.
Microsoft, a lot of people slam their phones and stuff, but they have done a great job. Xbox, Windows 10, Windows Phone, that is all integrated OS now. And it's...
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
And speaking of which, somebody was asking if about Unreal Engine. Oh, yeah, you didn't offend us. Don't worry, you didn't offend us by
Oh.
the father and son thing. And then Benjo,
Highly offended.
yeah, Benjo72 says Mac and Linux will have Visual Studio 2015, and mono development's not good because it's not a good interface. But because
I
they're
agree with
reverse
that.
engineered, yeah, the .NET library recreated a compiler for it. Ah, okay. And then Ashmos is asking, what about Unreal Engine? So Unreal Engine's a totally different thing. We are going to be covering that later on. We're going to start with the Unity stuff. Unreal it's a little more advanced, I would say. So it's like
Yeah,
they're making it easier all the time. I mean, when I remember trying to use Unreal Engine, it was
it's a more
ridiculously hard.
powerful tool set.
And it's definitely a more powerful tool set. I mean, that's the really like
That's AAA Studio.
yeah, exactly.
You can do AAA with Unity. It's just really geared more towards the small to independent medium studios.
Yeah.
And Unreal has done a good job of trying to breach into that as well. A great example that would be Arc, Combat or Survival Evolved, whatever it is, on Steam. But that's made with the Unity engine. Unity Engine 4 has really changed the game. When I was, we've talked about this before, but when I was first looking at getting Unity, it was $350,000 per seat. You know, and now they take 5% off the top, which people think, oh, it's only 5%. 5% off the top is not 5% of
You're talking about Unreal.
yeah, Unreal Engine, yeah. One of the nice things that back to Unity, and guys, we'll cover Unreal Engine. I really like the Unreal Engine. I really like Unity. It just depends on what you're wanting to do and where you're at.
Yeah.
If you're an independent or you're a solo, developer, or you're a part-time developer, hobby developer. Personally, I think Unity offers a lot more features. We talked about this on a couple other episodes of things we've done, but the asset store, which we'll get into today, is really what makes Unity so helpful for indie developers.
Yeah.
Let's get back into the meaty greedy for a minute.
Right on.
Keep the questions coming, guys. We definitely.
Right on.
enjoy
Yeah,
this.
Blizzard's Hearthstone is Unity based with some custom code. Exactly. There's a whole bunch of games out there that use Unity.
Oh,
So-
yeah. Some really nice stuff.
All right, so what else? We got hierarchy, the inspector. We've got our project stuff down here. Again, everything should be organized.
So let's click our play button.
All right. Whoa, that's awesome.
So now, if you look here, notice that we are no longer on the scene. We're now on the game tab at the top right here.
Oh yeah,
So, how do we move it? What's
the
the
little
controls?
Pac-Man. I don't know. There's arrow control.
I feel like I'm in the 80s.
Yeah, right.
Inside virtual reality.
Oh, it's got some interesting physics.
The torque.
Oh, nice. Wow. Yeah, see, that's the math I can't do, y'all. And then you can hear the acceleration noises different.
Which we looked at.
Yep, we looked at that. Oh, gosh.
Evidently,
Holy
your car
cow.
needs some new.
Man, my car
That's a
needs new
serious
tires.
spin out. Yeah, let's hit that. Let's hit the ramp.
That's what I was going to say. Let's
Go
see
do
if this
it.
ramp we can make it happen. Oh! That was a little too easy. Let's see if I kill the acceleration. Nope. That's good. Pretty good physics. Are these, I guess, I mean, most of this is just the built-in stuff, right? Oh, that's... Wow. Good grief.
Yeah, they have, and Unreal Engine does this as well too. They have blueprints. They have prefab designed items.
Okay.
So now what we have
That's
done here is
a
we've
pause.
paused the game.
Oh, okay.
Now, what's the benefit of pausing the game versus just stopping the game? Let's go over to our little, down here in the bottom left corner, we have our console.
Ah,
Our console, we don't have any errors or we don't have any warnings. Anything that's happening in the game is going to appear here in the console. So we have errors. So let's try this. Let's stop the game. Let's hit the play button. Hit pause, then play. Here we go.
Gotcha.
So let's go over here to this car controller script right here in the inspector, and just select it, the actual car controller part.
okay.
Not
Oops.
sorry, not that. Yeah,
Then did it again. All right, where?
right above. Yeah, that right there. And
Ah,
press
okay.
your delete key.
Ah. Oh, no.
Do you remember what the name of that script was?
It was car controller script.
Good job. Press play.
Okay. And it's like, what's going
Oh
on?
no!
Ah!
We've broken everything. Okay, so press pause. Now, here's one of the cool things it does. So we have 1,000+ errors.
Yeah.
So what we can actually do is, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you-
Click on one of the errors.
Uh-huh.
Now see here, it's showing up here. See the highlighted under.
Oh, yeah.
Now let's double click it.
All right, double click it.
Yep. It's going to pull up in mono develop in the script what the script is that has
Oh,
the
yeah.
error.
There it is.
And here's the line. So let's go back to our Unity for a second. And it's going to tell us the line of code that has the error here. So let's look at that. Object reference not set to instance. Okay, so line 24. So let's go back over here to the model develop, and we see here at line 24 that's that's what's missing.
And it was blinking.
Yep.
So it actually like took you to the specific line. So that's very cool.
Okay, no, what you guys don't understand is back in the day when game developers, we talked about this too, they didn't have these kind of tools. If they had an error, they had to go through all their lines of code manually to find what the error was.
Yeah.
This is life-changing. So let's stop our project. Let's go down here to the console and click clear. Okay, so we have an error. We don't have a script here, and it tells us the associated script cannot be loaded. Please fix any compiler errors and assign a valid script. So how are we going to assign the script?
So we can drag and drop it, right?
Yep.
Car user control. I think that was it. Let's hope.
We have car user, don't we?
Uh-oh. What have we done?
So let's click our little.
Oh, there's car user. Okay.
Let's click our little.
Oh, car controller. There it is.
Yeah. Now press play.
Ah. Well, look at that. And we go into the console. We don't have any errors. Yay!
Boom! So
we can pause it or stop it.
That kind of just gives you guys some idea of. And again, this is not how. If you're actually going through a tutorial, that would not take you this quickly through all this stuff. But it shows you just kind of how easy Unity is to reference and work through. And one of the things that they do really well is redundancy. So, and what I mean by that is, go to our project over here, the project tab.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's go up to window. All right, now we see these items here. We see project, right? So I want to show you game object up there, the game object tab, mobile input, component, game object.
Oh yeah.
Create empty, create UI. All right, see all these things right here?
Yeah.
Now, remember when we first started, I told you to right-click and let's make that new folder?
Mm-hmm.
So go back down to Vehicles, then to Project tab.
Okay.
And right-click on Vehicle. And then go to Create.
Ah.
All right, so we have all these items here, right? So we can do any of these things, but we also have game objects. So if there's some of the areas that they overlap, and there's some redundancy there. So you can access things through multiple options. One of the questions I think we have another new comment there, Victor. What do we have?
Oh, let's see. We got. Well, somebody was asking how do you put the game on the Xbox. Now that's a whole other process because you got to go through Microsoft and they curate that store. It's not just.
So basically, the way it works is with Unity for Sony, for Wii, for Xbox, you have to get approval, and once you get approval, there is a separate SDK, a module that you can attach to your Unity. So if we go up to, let's go up to File, Build Settings.
Develovope 11. Thanks for asking that question. So yeah, so File,
Build Settings.
Build Settings.
Okay, now here we go. You see the platforms right through here.
Ah.
So let's scroll on down a little bit.
Oh wow.
All right, so let's click. I'm gonna put Xbox One. Let's just do it.
Woo!
Oh.
Module Manager.
Well, fine. Let's put on 360.
Yeah. Your license does not cover 360 publishing. Contact sales.
How about the PS Vita?
Oh, PS Vita. Doesn't cover it.
Fine. Samsung TV.
Oh, Samsung TV. There you go. It's got to be.
Yeah.
Yay!
Okay. So anyway, guys, you get the idea. You have what's called
That's
the modules, and they can attach it to it. Now, one of the cool things that they've done with Unity is that if you do not have the Pro versions before this 2 builds back, you couldn't even create a test build on the platform.
Oh wow.
So they have definitely fixed that. While we're here, real fast, I just want to talk about the platforms. Your web player, your PC, Mac, Linux standalone, and your BlackBerry in your Windows Store are all included. Windows Phone, that's all included with the free version of Unity.
Okay.
So.
See, Windows Store, I mean, I've got to think, like, as many people, as much as they're trying to push that now, Windows 10, like, Windows Store, I know Windows 8, they really pushing it, but now it's, like, just integrated and it's there, and it, like, for a lot of people who are using their PC, and over the next couple of years, it seems like this is a good opportunity for people to be able to actually deploy games and test them out, And you could put it on there and just let people play with it. And then when you've got a test bed, say, okay, this really, people love this, right? Then you can put it on Android or iOS that costs you more money to publish
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
don't be crazy.
And let's talk about pricing while we're at it too. So you have Unity, which is free. You have Unity Pro, which opens more of the more tools that you can utilize, lighting, there's different things that they have restricted some of that. Then you have the different modules for iOS and Android. Those are $1,500 to own a license outright, or you can have a year agreement with them and rent it for $75 a month. You don't own it. It's not a perpetual license, which means that you own it forever. But it's a great way if you're needing to deploy. Okay, I really don't have $1,500 up front to spend right now, but I can swing $75 a month. I could put that on iOS. So they've really, again, worked with indie developers and hobby developers to really make some good stuff. So, and up here, look, just real fast, scenes in the build. We didn't really get into that yet, but basically that car, the scene we're in right here, a level, as a level, that's what gets put into the build.
Gotcha.
And then that is the sort order by which it happens. So
I see.
if we're looking at our Thunder God Battles game that we're working on right now, we have our main menu, and then we have our matchmaking screen. And so each of these scenes we put in order of how those come into play.
And that especially for mobile, where you're trying to worry about resources and whatnot, and the loading time and all that, this is something that can make a difference sometimes, right?
Yeah, I mean, the
depending on how
reality
you
is,
load it in.
Yeah, the reality is the tools are now becoming pretty much in some ways dummy proof.
Yeah.
They really are starting to work on how to help fix that. So, but that's something that definitely we can look at, and again, it really depends. Not everything. It's not every level is going to be that way. It could be just different items. But a scene is basically, for a lack of a better word, a level or a different change of a menu. So
okay,
my main menu would be a scene. My first track would be a scene, so on and so forth.
Okay. Cool. All right.
We've kind of gone over most of the basics of everything here. Not most, but the general hierarchy view. But let's go and look at the asset store.
Yes. So that's window.
Yep. Now, see this Control 9? Okay, so let's click back down here. All right, press Control 9.
Let's see if it'll work on mine. Hey, it worked.
Boom. Oh, no, I don't want it to be hanging out right there. So you can drag the tab, so in this case, it says asset store, and put it next to the hierarchy, or wherever you want to put it in this view here.
Whoa.
And there you go. You can customize and pull it around.
Yeah. That's
now,
sweet.
Look up here in the top right corner. We have layers and layouts. No, the very, very top.
Oh.
No, outside asset store.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Right here. Click
layers.
that.
Oh.
All right. We have layout. So go to layout. I like the 4 split. So click 4 split. Boom.
Nice.
And then you can save custom ones if you like a different workflow. Maybe you always want the asset store up.
Yeah.
So,
well, and also I will say, from my experience using 3D Studio Max and some other things, sometimes you have a different layout if you're placing models in the scene, if you're doing scripting, if you're, there's different use cases. So don't be afraid to set up different flows that work for you, but understand that you're probably going to change that or have other ones. So save them as you go, and so you're not like, crap, I had the perfect 4 up. Okay.
Default. So you think you're up.
Default. There we go. All right, cool.
So back to the asset store.
Back in the asset store here.
Look at redundancy, right? Control 9, or I can click the window tab. So,
wait, we got another question here real quick. Another question. About a year ago, I made a multiplayer game on Unity, but I used Photon networking. So if I publish my game for free, what are the chances that people will donate to pay for network costs?
It depends on your game. Depends on what people like about it. Photon, let's look at, that's from Exit Games. We actually are using them for our Thunder God Battles matchmaking. So they have some really good options via Unity. So let's go up here to the asset store and click Photon. Type in Photon. So, because they actually kind of have a little deal with Unity. They have the Photon, click the second one over there. Yep, that one.
Yep, Multiplayer Plus.
All right, so this gives you 100 concurrent users, all right? This is a killer price, because on their website, you can get, I think, 50 or 60 concurrent users for like $70 or something like that. So this is a good deal. A concurrent user, for those of you guys, I'm not trying to treat you guys as idiots, just in case you don't know what it is, would mean that right now we have 5 people in chat. Is that right?
Yeah.
3? Okay.
Well, 18.
18. So we have 18, and we have the 2 of us. So that's 19 of us. So we're all using it right now. That's 19 concurrent users. Now that doesn't mean that it's tied to me specifically. It means that any one time I have someone using my server.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the problem with that is once you get, if your game starts doing really well, and you're stuck at 100, your game's not going to do well for long because people can't find matches or can't play.
People can't play, right?
So that's where that really becomes into play. But to answer your question specifically, there are people that love to donate, and there are little people that like to not donate.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's a matter of how much they buy into your game as a thing, as something that really appeals to them, and so if they want to keep it going, then that's why they're gonna
and buy
that's
into
why they'll do
you,
it.
really.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, absolutely right. Hey, have you used XNA?
I have not used XNA. I know XNA. So
Yeah.
from the old Xbox 360, you could use to make some stuff.
Right. Yeah.
It was a pretty good, simple.
I remember when it came out, and it was going to be everything and all things to everyone or whatever, and then they just said, "Oh no, it's just for 360."
What's interesting
right?
is that it actually was very successful, and they
Yeah.
just killed it, and they were just like,
Yep. Yeah.
so
there you go.
but yeah, no, I know a lot of guys that have guys on my team that did some stuff with it. So I mean, I do know XNA. What was the question in regards to it?
Just have you used it? Oh, excuse me. Need to drink my energy tea.
Energy tea and fresh purified water from Kroger. Thanks, Kroger. Too bad you're not a sponsor.
That's right. Now, this reminds me of, just as a noob, this reminds me of the Steam store, and it's driving me crazy because I want to get this simple airport. I'm not, but $15 for a little airport and all the little models and everything. That seems so awesome.
You can do that, and you can legally use these and publish them, and
That's so cool.
So, do we have Steam available?
Yeah.
Let's
Fire up Steam.
Let's fire up Steam. So, let's go to specials for me.
By the way, I've heard Mad Max, not a single person has, no review of this has been good, basically.
Have a movie games ever been good?
Well, there's the rare one, but, all right.
Can you think of one? Because I'm
trying to think of one.
Here.
All right, where am I going?
Scroll down to specials. We're looking for what's on
yeah.
special right now. There we go, specials. I just bought that game last night, actually this morning. Click see 281 specials. And then we're going to sort it from lowest price to high. Uncrowded. Let's click that. Guys, this is what you do not do with Unity assets. You don't take the assets and then make the sample project they give you and deploy it.
Oh, geez. Is that what they've done here?
That's exactly what they've done.
Oh,
here.
my gosh.
In fact, I bet if we go down to look at one of the reviews, someone's probably mentioned that because it's that bad.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, it's literally just a copy paste of one single Unity asset pack. Wow.
So let's click that asset pack.
Oh, geez.
See that link right there? Click it.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Perfect. So they legally can do this because they bought the rights to it, but it's pretty shady.
That's crazy. Wow. That's so nuts. Well, yeah, and look, we had this problem in the App Store, and when Apple released the App Store, they had some sample projects that came with Xcode, which is their software development kit, and I just can't leave that up because it's like advertising for them. And the problem
It's
was
9 cents.
Yeah,
Go
well,
ahead.
I know,
Go
right?
ahead, Paul, 9
hey,
cents.
But, that's just terrible. But the thing was, that people were taking that and reskinning it and deploying it on the store, which of course Apple should have closed it down.
Well,
That's
actually,
different than
it's what
Steam.
That ruined their marketplace. Reskinning.
Mm-hmm. All right, so don't do that, guys, because
There's some more
that's
questions there,
dumb.
looks
Yeah. What about SmartFox? Have you used SmartFox?
I have not actually.
Okay. That was Ashmos. Thanks for that question. And then Alucard J says, I have the same problem, Photon and maxing out users. Yeah, there's guides on running your own master server, but there's nothing on how to use that master server as a lobby for connecting player to crested rooms or on client-hosted games.
So let's talk about that. people read that and think that's what I want to do. That's even worse. The advantage of having Photon is that they have engineers and they have redundant servers in place. If anything happens, your game's not done. Having your own master server is way more work. You really need a full-time person that knows that. I have had friends that have had disasters. I'm talking. Look at the mic because they're all here instead of there. But I've had friends that have done that, and it's not turned out well. So one thing that I would consider doing is doing a limited release with some friends or something, and getting them to just start chipping in. So let's say, what's it going to cost you to get a year? To get a year of Photon, and kind of build off of that. In that point, are you planning on monetizing the game or just selling the game directly?
Yeah, that's the question for that. And then, how many hours have you been there in live? I'm not sure.
Can you rephrase that question?
Develop. I'm not sure what you're asking. How many questions have you been there in live? XNA or causes good? I'm not sure what the question is, but Alucard, it depends on if they're like buying it outright or.
Well, it depends on your monetization strategy.
Yeah.
Because if you're able to monetize through in-app purchases or ad revenue, then you can offset some of the costs. If you're just giving this away, what's your objective, really? Mm-hmm. Because Photon's not cheap.
Right.
It's cheap for what it offers.
Well, yeah, you're going to get what you pay for, though. And I mean, I can definitely attest to the fact that if you want to run in any case, whether it's your own web server or whatever, it is a job. It's a whole other extra layer of work that you have to do on top of building a game, maintaining a community, et cetera, et cetera. So ask yourself if it's worth your time to add that whole other level of work. And then, best case scenario, your game does really well. Now it's a real full-time job, because like you screw that up, then your game that's suddenly getting hit is like, it's like Dig and Twitter in the early days where it would fail. And people would be like, well, screw this, and those companies had the momentum and the money to push beyond that.
Yeah, lost for a while.
Yeah, and you don't probably have millions of dollars to play with, so that's the question.
If you do, talk to us because we can use that millions of dollars to your advantage.
Right. Well, we're gonna actually have to wrap up here in a few minutes. So, is there anything specific you want to show on this, or we'll obviously do a whole day on that.
Let's look at free assets.
Okay.
So, guys, let's look at first-person shooter assets. So, look at FPS. Let's see what we have here. Okay. Do we have anything free? Yep, there's a first-person controller for free.
And this is, it's like scripts and whatnot.
Yep.
Oh, neat. That's fantastic. And this is so cool because there's a YouTube channel where they have all the tutorials and everything that you need to know. That's really, really cool. And this is the way that you reuse stuff, not take the whole thing and then just reskin it or,
Yep.
Yeah, slap a coat of paint on it. This is truly, that's what this is meant for, is to reuse and use in different ways. Something, if y'all aren't, we don't have a, hey, Jack Daniels 62. I like the username. We don't have a tutorial on YouTube yet, so what's going to happen is I'll take this and I'll put it on YouTube in the next 24, 48 hours, but before next week, definitely. And then we'll keep doing these every week at the same time. But I was going to say, if you guys are not familiar, I don't think I have it over here. GURPS. Are you familiar with GURPS?
The world, like Dungeons and Dragons type world?
Yeah. Okay, so this was created by a guy named Steve Jackson.
Steve Jackson Games?
Yeah, Steve Jackson Games. Munchkin, if you've ever heard of that guy, right?
Yeah.
So
why is that not a mobile game?
Well, I've talked to them about that. They've got the counter, but it's too much money, and also licensing, all this other crap. But yeah, they like making the games. They
like physical people together.
I've gotten to meet Steve Jackson personally. He's a super nice guy, but he's really likes the paper-based stuff. That's why you don't see a bunch of Steve Jackson mobile games. But what's cool is that GURPS, which did not ever really take off very much, but had this really hardcore user group, it's a generic, universal role-playing system. That's what it stands for. And it's a true system where it's you can create any kind of game you can ever imagine, from racing to like space to like angels fighting to, I mean, anything
To the
your
two
mind.
guys sitting in a room and competing for people to view on their webpage.
Yeah, whatever. I mean,
Whatever.
you can literally create anything.
It's actually really well.
Yeah.
The mechanics behind it are solid.
And all that to say is that, like, if you want to test out your game ideas or whatnot, look into something like that where you can test out the mechanics on paper.
Yeah.
You know, and sort of see, well, you know, are we waiting this guy, like, oh my gosh, if you play this character, he just wins every single time. That's where you learn things like dominant strategy and other stuff that's the game design behind the development. You know what I mean? There's making games, which is all these tools that we're using right now, right? And then there are things like FPS control, which takes away all the scripting of like, well, how do they pick up the gun? How do they, you know, hold it? Blah, blah,
How do
blah.
they move with that gun?
How they move with it? Yeah, all of that stuff. So you can focus on the actual game mechanics and make them super fun, as well as the story that's engaging and all this other great stuff. Because you got to have all that. You know, you can't just have freaking pixels running around the screen or whatnot.
Well, game. We're doing testing for Thunder God Battles right now from the multiplayer perspective, and we have 8 Thunder Gods, and each Thunder God has a specialty skill set. Well, we had this idea to make Odin really powerful and really hard to get, but the problem is that the initial specialty skill set was too overpowered.
Yeah.
And so we were like, this doesn't work. So we need to rethink the strategy of what his specialty skill set is, because we want to create balance. You know, an advantage, yes, but also balance too.
Sure.
So, you know, that's part of that game testing and the game development and the game as you manage your game. What you're talking about, testing it out. Well, is this, you could test it on paper? Is this too powerful?
Right.
So yeah, that's really important from a game designer perspective, balancing a game.
Yeah, and that's something that I wanted to kind of like round out the show with, is the fact that everything that we're showing here is awesome. And I always told my students this when I taught multimedia, not even game design, but just multimedia in general. It's super tempting now because you have all of this stuff. You have plug and play. Like, you have idiots who can just take a sample file and turn it into a game. It's too easy with the digital tools to feel like you can just get started. And yeah, you might make something, but it's kind of like going up to a piano with no lessons and just start hitting the keys and hoping that you come up with something, you know, that's awesome. And it's a super competitive market right now. So you really need to think about planning out on paper and testing things out before you get involved in here, because I'm sure you can attest to this. If you decide 6 weeks into building all these things that something fundamental in the mechanics is wrong, then you have to sometimes go way back. Like, you might have to remodel things.
We never had that problem because we planned it on the front end accordingly.
But that's the thing. But you can certainly see.
There have been horror stories.
Yeah.
AAA studio horror stories of like Duke Nukem Never Forever.
Right, yeah.
They literally had to redo the project from scratch 3 times.
Jeez.
I mean,
Yeah. Well, and I'll leave you with this little story because I'm reading a book called Creativity Inc. that's by Ed Catmull, who's one of the founders of Pixar, and he really created a lot of he was the technology guy. John Lasseter was the creative, artistic guy. He was a cartoonist, an animator, and then Steve Jobs was like the money guy. So those are the 3 founders of Pixar, and this is by Ed, who's a scientist, really. And it's about managing creative people, managing the creative process, and how do you do that. And one of the big things was, you know, them talking about how they would work. The reason Pixar movies are so good is they care about the story and how do they protect that story. Well, the story can be written without any kind of animation and whatever, right? So, first of all, they do have instances where they go back and they go, okay, no, we're scrapping this character or whatever, and they have to do a lot of rework. But to avoid that, they try to get the story right first by doing storyboards and animatics and just, you know, cheap stuff that can be done without actors and all this other thing, and a lot of animation work. But I thought what was really, really cool about this was this idea of planning ahead and thinking of what is the core thing that you want to do with your game. What's the core thing that makes it so much fun? In Pixar, it's the story. What's the core story? So at Up, the movie Up, which I have right here, if you remember this movie, or if you've never seen it before, it's this old guy Carl and this little Boy Scout, and then there's this crazy bird, and they land on this place in South America, and then there's this mean old man.
Oh yeah, the
okay, yeah. Well, this started out as a story about 2 princes that lived in a castle in the sky, and had never been to Earth before. They fell out of the castle, and with the help of a crazy tall bird, they managed to figure out how to get back to the castle. That was the original story for Up. What you're seeing here is actually 4 versions later from that original story, and they have like specific points that changed. And it's like the only thing that stayed the same basically was the bird. You know, like the bird stayed through the whole thing, but their key storyline was about, you know, friendships and bonds and what it means to be a true friend, and you know, it was about something else, and they were just using that story to convey something. So that's the main thing. The reason that you plan ahead is because you need to have a core idea, and what you're trying to do is express that in the best way possible.
And that brings up one really important point in creative work, period, really. But game development too. We call it leaving your baby. Some people call it aborting your babies. And that is, do not hang on to your idea to the point that you're not willing to let some other one's better idea take over.
Yeah.
And that's really hard for creative people. It's really hard for writers, I've noticed
Yeah.
specifically, but for game developers too. I ran into this with Thunder God. So it's got to be this way. I like this. This feature's got to be here, and like it didn't work.
Right.
It doesn't work in the game. Well, no, it's a great idea. Yeah, it's a great idea. It does not work in this project.
Brad Bird talks about that in The Incredibles, where he said, you know, they had a lot of technical challenges in that movie, and he said, but what would happen is we would think of something that just had to be done a certain way, but then we found that if we took that out, it was like all the pieces fell together. You know, all those pieces fell in place where this one thing had been blocking it, and that's a big deal. Ed Catmull talks about that, where artists tend to personalize their ideas, and so when you're attacking an idea, you're attacking them, and they become defensive. So that's something to be really careful about if you want to work. Show the room around Rapunzel version. So I'm just going to show you real quick, and then we're going to head out. Hold on, let me get back over here to OBS so you guys can see a little bit more. Yeah. Let's see. Wait, let's go to. Whee! Okay, there we go. And we're gonna head out, but there's a little bit more of my gewgaws and stuff. And then I'm actually in the process of rearranging the room, so everything's kind of a mess right now. But I got puppets and other things, and we have fun with all that stuff at some point. Anyway, thanks for y'all for joining. Thanks, Ryan, again for being my co-host for this show. Yeah. And we'll be back next week, same bat time, same bat channel, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys. Thanks for showing up. And then you can create a new folder, you can create a script. So Unity gives you multiple ways to access this. So if you see that there, let's go to folder. So right now we're going to create a new folder, and we're going to call this folder Trucks. And so this just kind of gives you an idea of how you would organize a project. And then you can literally drag things into Unity from your, we're currently on Windows, but if you're in Mac as well, but drag it from your File Explorer straight into that, and then Unity imports it for you.
And I think one of the big things to look at here is the fact that, well, you've got under car, just to give you an idea of kind of how you really need to plan things out.
Yeah.
You've got the audio for that car. You've got the materials for that car, the actual models for the car, and then things called prefabs, which I'm sure we'll get into, scripts, which tell it what to do, shaders and textures, all of which contribute to the look of the thing, along with the model, obviously, and the materials and whatnot. And then is that physics materials underneath that? Yeah. It was in cars, maybe? Hold on. It's hard to tell sometimes.
Yeah,
it's in the vehicles. Right. Well, and that makes sense because you've got similar physics in all the different vehicles and whatnot. That's another thing that's kind of an important concept is reuse, where you can reuse code, where you can reuse models and textures and other things like that will help you, especially when you're creating mobile games. So that's just a little tip.
Even the big
day. Thanks for joining us. This is a reboot of our game dev show, which before I was trying to do Photoshop and all these other wacky things and whatnot. Right now, of course, you're seeing my crazy desktop, and hopefully we're going to hear it. Yay! All right, cool. Hey, we got 3 people. Unreal Engine 5 is pretty good about walking you through C++ and JavaScript. Oh, cool. Right on. Okay, well, step 1 in gaming. what we're going to do is start off. We're not going to start in with the code per se. What we're going to start off with is actually just the basic tools, because I'm going to put these on YouTube and they're going to have some sort of an order that builds on each other. And today, the first part of any tool set is just learning what the tools do and, learning how to use the tools. If you've never been in a car, learning to drive a car, first you have to like familiarize yourself with what the hell all these things do, right? Like you don't know what a steering wheel, you don't know what that is. Like how would you know? So I've got a couple of things up. I've got Blender up, which we won't get into today. We'll have a whole thing on creating assets that'll involve Blender, that'll involve Photoshop, and whatever else. But right now we're just going to stick with Unity. And so anyway, I taught game design a long time ago, but it was more from like my experience of just designing levels for many years. As a kid, I designed Lode Runner levels on an Apple II Plus, so that tells you how old I am. But Ryan here is the real deal. Like, so if you have questions about actual game development, game design, familiar with that, this is easy peasy. Go ahead.
If not, the most important thing we're going to start off is your project tab. Whenever you're designing any game, whether it's a little one-click, jumping game, you just tap the screen, to an elaborate, massive MMO, having an organized project is vital, because if it's not organized well, you won't know what you're looking for, and you'll get all confused. I know this from experience, because when I got started, I was a moron. So, you would think that you would know that. You think, oh, this is pretty organized. Make it detailed. So we have an assets folder, which basically Unity has everything under the assets folder. So by default, when you, how deep do I go? So under the assets folder is where you can organize your models, your scripts, everything you need to do, you would put in here. So we have standard assets. Let's expand. Yeah. Click the little arrow next to that and expand that down.
Oh, wow.
So you can see here we have a kind of outline view or file view, and then we have the actual detail folders kind of in a larger view. It's the same view both here on, right here and under the project side. So as we see here, we have a car in the game, right? So we have vehicles. So they've organized this as vehicles. So they might have more than one car. Maybe they have tanks or trucks, and so you could put aircraft. Now let's do something really simple. If you right-click that vehicles folder, right there.
Okay.
You can go up to create.
And running a game company, Ryan is your guy. But he's here to help teach me and help teach you guys how to use some of these tools. And we'll move quickly through this stuff today, and then we're going to get into the real meat and potatoes over the next few weeks.
So I'm coaching you on how to use Unity.
All right. Let's get it.
So let's just start overall. Unity, like basically every single other application in the world, has the toolbar at the very top that has your overall.
Oh yeah, these guys right here.
Yeah. So, well, actually, at the very, very top, we have that. So
yeah, all your menu stuff.
All your menu stuff. And what you'll see if you go to Windows, you'll see here we have Game, Inspector, Hierarchy, and if you look at if you back out of that, you'll see we have here Inspector.
Oh,
Game.
okay, yeah.
So you can actually customize this whatever way you want, however helps your workflow. So let's go through these.
Yeah, this is just like in Photoshop or whatever, you got these little draggable tabs.
Absolutely.
And then you can dock them. And okay, so and for those of you, because I don't have a thing yet to be able to zoom into my screen, I need to get that installed. Over here on the right, you've got your inspector. Yep. Over here on the left, you've got your hierarchy. In the middle, you've got your scene, and then you've got another tab for game. Oh, that's cool. And then down here, you've got your project and this thing called console. Which this is a lot like a lot of the IDEs that I've used, where you have like your code window and you have a hierarchy of your code, and then you have assets like Dreamweaver, sort of like this. Photoshop's kind of like this. Yeah. All right. So if you remember,
big devs use it too. I mean, you look at like, for example, let's look at Call of Duty, right? The AI scripting and the AI modeling for most of those soldiers is all the same. Right. They might change the skin. Let's get into that for a second too. So while we're here, let's talk about materials versus models.
Sure.
That's an important part. So if we, so these right here are our materials. So if we click on the car in this scene up ahead, click under hierarchy for them.
Okay. And here's the car. Yeah. Hey.
Now see how he's now. We can't really zoom in here, but let me see that he's selected here. Now over under the inspector tab, on the right hand side, this is what you're seeing. This gives you the details of the item you're seeing in your scene. Okay.
Gotcha.
So if you click on the ground that in that scene, or on a different item in the scene, it's going to change what your inspector's seeing.
Okay. So, well, here's our helpers. Here's our lights. Let's see. Let's look at different cameras. There's a car camera rig.
So and we won't get into that much detail today, but it's going to get you an idea of what we're looking at. So
Yeah.
the inspector tab is the details of what you're seeing in your world there.
Okay.
Now let's go back to the car there. Zoom us in. And you can zoom with the wheel mouse. There's a couple hotkeys as well.
Oh, there's
which
the
you can customize.
camera that we had selected. So, okay. So, what's a hotkey for zooming in?
Depends what you want to have it as. You can try Control F, Control Alt F.
Oops.
Oh,